Okay, so we will continue from the last session, and we have to model this truss again and to verify the forces in the member of the truss. This is the manual result, and we have to verify this manual result with the ETAB results. That the things we are doing in the last session. The same thing we have to do again, so that you will understand the procedure again and again, so that it will be easy to practice. One more query in the last session was, uh, a few people says that we are unable to do the things during ongoing lecture. So please don't do this. During ongoing lecture, you just try to understand the procedure, and once you get the recorded visuals, at that time you practice on your own. Got it? Hello? Okay, so don't practice during ongoing session. Just try to understand the procedure and keep the notebook and pen in your hand. Even Calci. Hello? Someone has keep your microphone on mute condition. Who's there? Rajendra. Okay. So just keep in hand Calci, notebook and pen, and just write the important points that I'm discussing here, and don't practice on ETABS. Once you get the recorded videos, then do this on your own. Okay, and if you face any difficulty, then try to clear that difficulty, that problems in the next session. Ask the question. I will definitely try to cover your query. Got it? So right now we have to model this truss and have to verify the results. So what we have to do, just go to ETABS. Okay, then go to file and new model. The procedure will be same. Go with the third option, and you have to work in the metric SI. That means we have to put the values in meter, kilonewton. Okay, so say okay. Once you click on OK, new dialog box will open with the quick templates. And as you can see here, if you look from the top, you can find three grids in X direction. This one, this two, this three, and this will be the four. In X direction, this is the X direction, and in plan, as earlier we had discussed that there is no truss in y direction, or there is no grid in y direction, so that we have to put only one grid in y direction, and that grid will be for the truss itself. Okay, so in X direction there is four grids, and in y direction there is only one grid. Got it? Because this frame is in elevation also. This is the picture of elevation. Okay, so just go to ETABS, put number of grids in X direction is 4, number of grids in Y direction, that will be 1, spacing of the grid in X direction, as you can see here, between A to B the distance is 3 meter, between B to C the distance is 4 meter, and between C to D the distance is 3 meter. So as you can see, it is non-uniform grid spacing, so that put the value that is repetitive, that is 3 meter. So put in X direction 3 meter, and I earlier discussed that in Y direction you can't put the 0, because it doesn't allow the 0 value, so we have to put it as 1. Got it? Then we need to go with the custom grid spacing option. This is because our grid spacing is non-uniform. Got it? So just go through the custom grid option, edit grid data. Once you click on it, just put the distances with the display grid spacing option. With the display grid option, put the 3 meter, then 4 meter, got it, then 3 meter, got it. In y direction we don't need to put any value, just keep it as it is. Choose some dark value so that the grid will be visible. So okay, bubble size I can reduce to 1000, say okay. Okay, now we have to see the elevation. So ETABS by default will give you the base. Okay, ETABS by default will create the base as a foundation level. Okay, so this is the level by given by the ETABS, so we don't need to consider it. Now the next we have only one story. See, this is the first story, this is the first level. So we have to create only one level. So put in ETABS number of story, say 1. Typical story height, as you can see here, only one story is there and the height of that story is 3 meter. So just put it as typical story height 3. Bottom story height keep as it is 3. Okay, and if you have any confusion, any doubt, or you can understand the levels properly, just go with the custom grid data option. Go to edit story data. Okay, once you click on it, as you can see here, this is the base and the first level we want at a distance of 3 meter. So from this option you can understand the level more clearly. Okay, so this is the story first, this is the base. So it's all okay, say okay. As we want the grids, choose the grid option, say okay. Once you click on OK, two windows will open, the plan window and 3D window. And this is the window for the Model Explorer. What does mean by the Model Explorer, and how to enable this Model Explorer, and how to close Model Explorer, what is the use of Model Explorer, that all things we will discuss in the later session. So right now just close this window. Okay, so two windows is here, the plan view and 3D view. So we don't need to see the 3D view, so just close it. Okay, now this is the plan view. Only one grid is here, but we actually have to work over the elevation. So that just go to elevation and we want to see the elevation along grid first. See, I just want to see the elevation along grid first. So just click on first, say apply. Okay, so as you can see here, the elevation view is appeared. Okay, this is the base, this is the story first. Got it? Now what we have to do, we have to model this truss. Got it? So this is the start point A, and we are going to model this truss. Just click the beam option or frame option. We will discuss in detail on this dialog box in later session in detail. Right now just close it. Your command will be active. Just click on the point. Unless and until it is shown the grid point or red color, don't click on that point, otherwise it show you the error. Okay, so don't fire from the unless you are getting the red color. Okay, right, it's showing the red color, just click on it. Once you click on it, freely move to the next point where you want to end the frame. So this is the point actually where I want to end the frame. So this, just click on it. Once you click on it, ETABS will by default give you the supports, because this is the base. This is the base level, and once you click anywhere at the base, ETABS by default give you the support, and that support will be hinge support. ETABS consider base as a foundation level. That's why it gives the support at the base. Remember this point. Okay, now just go to the second point, then really move to the next point, just click on that, then come back to this point, then sorry, okay, undo the command, go back, close it. Now start again from first point to the next point, then start. Okay, so this is done. Now what we have to do, we have to model this frame or this frame. Click at this point, this is done. From this point to this point, this is okay. Now there is one frame from this point to this point. So all individual element has been modeled individually. See, so this is all about the modeling of the members of the truss. Once it is okay, then go to assign the support at the joint. But while assigning the support at the joint, remember that as earlier we have discussed in the earlier session, if we are dragging from left to right side, all the elements or all these things coming inside of the box will be selected. Okay, so as you can see here, joint is coming inside of the box. So when I click, so only the joint is selected. As you can see here, while making selection anything, you just need to see this position. I want to select one joint, so only one joint should be selected. If it is showing that 3 joint is selected, suppose, so there will be error in modeling. Got it? So actually what I want to select, I just want to select this joint. So there are two options. Either you can click on that joint, so that joint will be selected. As you can see here, one joint is selected. And if you want there another way to select, just drag from left to right. Once you click on it, one joint is selected. Got it? So this is all about the selection. So actually I have to assign the support at this joint. So drag from left to right. Once you dragging from left to right, joint is selected. Go to assign, then joint, then restraints. Okay, how? First select the joint, then go to assign, join, then restrain. Once you click on restrain, it shows you the figures and also the restraint conditions. If you are not understanding the restraint condition, just left it, go focus on the figures or icons. So as we want the hinge support, so click hinge, okay, and apply. As you can see here, hinge support is assigned to the joint. Now as you can see here, there is no any joint. These are connections. As you can see, these plates are the connections. So at this joint there is no any support. At this joint also there is no any support. So we have to remove this support. Okay, we have to remove this support. So what we have to do, just go back to the tabs. Okay, select the joint. Okay, see there is some error. Two joint selected, and what should be here? Here only the one joint should be selected, but there is some error. And error is what? While selecting the joint, while clicking on the joint, I did the mistake. That's why this error is shown. So how to rectify this error? Just click the joint and find the ordinate of joint, that is x. As you can see here, see here, from dragging from left to right, it shows that two joint selected. So the ordinate of this joint is what? 3 meter in x direction. Just go to align, go to edit and align joints frame edges. Once you click on it, I just want to align all the joint at this point at ordinate x equal to 3 meter. Say apply. Once you click it, the error will be rectified. Now I am dragging from left to right. As you can see, one joint is selected. Got it? So this is the way to rectify this kind of error. Once you dragging from left to right at this joint, see, again it shows that two joint has been selected. So what we have to do again, just find the ordinate of this joint. So x is 7. As you can see, x is 7. See here in this window. So x is what? 7. So go to edit, go to align, joints and frame edges, and put 7. Say apply. So as you can see, I am dragging from left to right so that only one joint has been selected. Got it? Just clear it. Close the things. Okay, what we have to do, we have to remove this support. So click the joint, select the joint, again select the joint, and choose the none option. Okay, say apply. As you can see, the support is removed from the joint. Got it? Now come back to this point and select the joint. Again it shows that two joint has been selected. So is actually the error. Again go to joint, go to edit, go to align, and that joint ordinate is 10. Put the 10. Say apply. So right now only one joint is selected and I want to give the roller support. Say apply. So as you can see, roller support is assigned to this joint. Got it? So this is done. Now we have to apply the loads at the joints. So as you can see here, at B there is 20 kilonewton and at C there is 60 kilonewton. Select the joint, go to assign joint loads, go to joint loads and the forces. Once you click on forces, we have to assign the loads under the live load patterns. What does mean by the patterns? What are the categories of the loads? We will see in detail in later session. But right now, remember that we have to assign the loads under the live loads category. Okay. So in Z direction, minus sign for the gravity direction and put 20. Say apply. Once you click on it, as you can see in the window, 20 kilonewton has been assigned to the joint. Once it's done, just go to the next point. Remember, I am just clicking on apply. If you are clicking on OK, the window will be disappear. You need to again go to assign, then join, then reopen this option. So don't do this. If you have to reuse the option, at that time just click on apply. Okay. So at this point we have to assign what? 60 kilonewton. So that will be the minus 60 kilonewton. Say apply. Okay. So what does mean by these three options? Add to existing loads, replace existing loads, delete existing load. For example, suppose I have to assign at this joint 80 kilonewton and mistakenly what I did, I have assigned 60 kilonewton. So 20 kilonewton more I need to add at this joint. So what should I do? Just click on 20. Suppose I have to assign 80 kilonewton at this joint. Okay. So what I have to do? Just click right 20 and choose the option add to existing load. When you click on this option, the existing load plus additional load will give you the final result. Just click on apply. So as you can see, it is changes to 80 kilonewton. Got it? This is the use of this option. If you want to add to any existing load, at that time you have to go with this option. Second, if you want to replace the entire existing load to some another value, suppose this is 80 and I have to assign 20 kilonewton. So suppose 10 kilonewton. So just put 10 and choose the option replace existing loads. Say apply. So as you can see, 10 kilonewton is applied. And if you want to delete entire load at that joint, which is at that joint, just click, choose the third option, delete existing load and apply, so that you can see the existing load is removed. Okay, so this is all about the use of these three options. So right now I just want to assign the 60 kilonewton. So select the joint. Okay, by default it just gives you the replace existing load option, so it is good. Let it to be as it is. Now apply the load 60 kilonewton in vertical downward direction. Say apply. Got it? So 60 kilonewton is applied and in the vertical downward direction at joint C. Got it? So I think all load has been assigned. Only the one load we have to assign at the F joint in horizontal direction. Got it? It is 30 kilonewton. So how to assign this? Just select the joint. Remember then one joint is selected, so it's okay. 0, and we want in positive x direction as 30 kilonewton. So put 30. Say apply. As you can see, 30 kilonewton is assigned to this joint. Just close it. Okay, so right now finally all the loads has been assigned to the joint. Got it? Support condition is also assigned to the joints. Member is also modeled correctly. Now we have to go to check the model whether there is any error or not. Once it shows any error, we need to rectify that error. And if there is no any error, so it is good thing, we can proceed for the analysis step. So we need to go to analyze, then check model. Go to check model, select all and say OK. So it gives the result that model has been checked, no warning messages were generated. Just close it. Okay, and analyze the model. So go to analyze, and as you can see here, run analysis. So go with the run analysis option, click on it. It will ask to show you save the model. This is the T2. So it takes some time and give the result, deformed result. The deformed result, or we can see the animation of this structure under the loading. As you can see, this is a deformed shape or animated deformed shape of this structure. Just stop it, and what we have to do, we have to check the model. We have to check the axial forces in the member of the truss, and is to verify with this result. But one thing we again left, that we have to assign the releases at the at the both ends. Got it? So just unlock the model, say OK. If we have to do any change in the existing model, you first unlock the model. Okay, unless and until you unlock the model, you will not able to do any change in the model. Okay, once it is analyzed. So what we have to do, again select all the members. Once all the, see here only 9 frames selected, so it is good. We actually want only the frame selection. So 9 frame has been selected. Then go to assign, then go to joints, go to assign, then go to frame, because it is a frame element. Then releases and partial fixity. Go with this option and make sure that movement along axis 2 movement along axis 2 and movement along axis 3. What does mean by axis 2, what does mean by axis 3? That all things we will discuss in detail in the later topics and later sessions. Okay, so just apply, and as you can see here, as releases has been assigned at the both ends of the frame. Close it. Now analyze the model again. Now we want to see the axial forces in the member of truss. So how we can see the axial force in the member of truss? Just go to display and forces stress diagram and frame Pierce spindle forces. This is the frame elements, so that's why we are going with this option, frame. Okay, we have assigned the loads under the live load category, so live load should be selected here. And as I want to see the axial force in the member of the truss, select the axial option. What does mean by all these three options, we will see later. Then rest things should be keep as it is. Okay, say apply. Once you click on apply, the result will be shown here. As you can see, the forces in the member of the truss. Red color shows that the compressive force, or it is shown by the negative value. As you can see, got it? This is the compressive force, and yellow color shows that is the tension force, and by the positive sign. Okay, now the close this window and see the result. In AB there is 11 kilonewton. Where is AB? This is AB. This member is actually AB, and this 3, how much? 11 kilonewton, and the nature of the force is compression. As you can see, nature of force is compression, and this is 11 kilonewton. Come back to the truss, E-tabs. Okay, so as you can find, there is a 11 kilonewton. See, this is 11 kilonewton. If you right click on that member, it will give you more elaborated result. Okay, see, as you can see here, the load is 11 minus sign. Axial force, okay, that is minus 11 kilonewton. That is compression actually. So clear it. Close. Okay. Now A to B is 11, then B to C is what? 39 kilonewton. Again the nature is compression. See, exactly 39 kilonewton is there. Okay, 39 kilonewton. Then C to D is again 39, and then A to F. In AF the force is actually 58 kilonewton. So how you can see, in AF it is 57.9828, that is approximately 58 kilonewton. We can consider it there, 57.9828, so it is approximately 58 kilonewton. So it is also okay. So like this we can verify the actual forces in the member of truss. So we have learned that how to model the truss, then how to see the actual forces in the member of the truss, and how to assign, what's the reason to assign the releases in the member of the truss. And okay, that's all things has been completed for the truss portion. Okay, this is the third truss. Determine the forces in the member of truss. It is your practice. You just try it on your own and verify the results. If you are getting any problem, just tell me in the next session. I will discuss on it. But you first try to do it on your own. Got it? Okay. The third practice, the third truss, you have to try on your own. Are you ready to do it on your own? Okay. So I will share the document with you. Then you can try to draw the model the truss, and then try to verify the results. So this is all about the truss. Now we will move to the next next topic, that is modeling of the beam and assigning the loads, and finding the shear force and bending moment diagrams, and finding the shear force value, bending moment value. That all things we have to see in this practice. But before that, we have to understand the axis consideration. So as we have earlier discussed that in this exercise we have to understand the axis consideration in respect of ETABS software in general as well as ETABS software. So what are the different types of axis? Okay, so first we will go to understand what are the different types of axis. So there are three types of axis. First is global axis. Global axis. Second one is local axis, and third one is natural axis. What does mean by global axis, local axis, natural axis? We will see in detail. So first, what does mean by the global axis? The axis that represent the entire structure or the entire model is called as the global axis. As you can see here, this model or this structure is consist of different structural elements. These suppose this is one element, this is another element, this is another element, this is another element, this is another element. So it consists of many structural elements, and that entire model is represented by the one axis system. That axis system is called as global axis. What it means? All the structural elements running in this direction is actually along x direction. All the structural elements running in this direction are along the y direction, and all the structural elements of the entire model is along y direction, or which are vertical, that is along z direction. So this axis system entirely representing this entire model. That's why it is called as global axis. Got it? So in ETABS you can find that, see, this is the global axis. As you can see, ETABS represent the global axis like this. This is the global axis. It represents entire model with the one axis system, that is called as global axis. All the structural elements running in this direction are along x direction. All the structural elements along the vertical direction is along z direction, z axis. Okay, along the z axis, and this is along y axis. So this is about global axis. Got it? Then each structural elements are also a three-dimensional element. If you are talking about the beam, suppose this is a beam. Okay, this is what? This is actually the beam. This is actually the beam. This is beam. This is beam. This is beam, and this column. So each individual structural element is also three-dimensional element. Okay, these are solid elements and three-dimensional element. It also have its width, depth, height, everything. So these actually these all structural elements have its own axis. Okay, they have their own axis. Their width is represented by the one axis, their depth is represented by one axis through one axis, and their length is represented by one axis. So these individual structural elements have their own axis, and that axis is called as local axis. Got it? That axis is called as local axis. As you can see here, column. So the height along which the column is rested is axis 1 1, the width along 2 2, and depth along 3 3. Likewise for the beam, the length along 1 1. This is a longitudinal direction. It might be known to you that this is a longitudinal direction, and these two directions are the transverse direction. Okay, so this is called as local axis. The length is shown by the axis 1 1 in ETABS. Depth is shown by the axis 2 2 in ETABS, and this is the third axis out of plane, axis 3 3. Got it? So what I'm trying to show you that each structure element has its own axis. Okay, this is the slab. This is also shown by its own axis. That individual structural element axis is called as natural axis. Local axis. So this is the global axis. It representing the entire model, and each structural elements have its own axis that is called as local axis. Got it? If you move one step inside of the structural element, so each structural elements are actually the composition of the solid particles. Got it? Each structural elements are actually the composition of, or actually the composition of the small particles, and that small particles are again solid element. Okay, solid elements, and that solid elements has its own axis system. Got it? So this again has its own axis system, and that axis system is called as natural axis. Got it? So in from first is global axis, then structural elements axes are called as local axis, and then natural axis. So in ETABS, it is possible to see the global axis, and it is possible to see the local axis, but it is little bit difficult to show for the ETAB the natural axis. So it's a research topic. If you are going to research, or if you are going to do any detailed work, at that time you have to do with the natural axis. But right now we have to discuss about global axis and local axis. So go to ETABS, and we go with the elevation, or we can left it in 3D view. So as you can find, this is the global axis, and if you want to see the local axis, the unlock model. Okay, I just want to see the local axis. So go to set display option, or in view, set display option. As it is frame element, I will explain all these things in detail in the later session, but right now it is the discussion. In this session we have to understand the axis. That's why I'm showing you. So frame assignment, just go with the local axis. Once you click on it, say apply, as you can see, each structural elements or each member has its own axis. Okay, so this is all about the local axis. This is the global axis. I hope you understood the concept of the axis. Moreover of it, we have to understand that suppose this is the beam. Suppose this beam. So as we discussed that it has its own axis system, that is called as local axis. So ETABS shows that the axis along the longitudinal direction, or we can say the axis along the length of the member, is represented by the axis by the red color, and by axis 1 1, and this is actually the depth of the beam. Then it is represented by the axis 2 2, and the third axis, that is out of plane, that is axis by 3 3. Got it? Axis by 3 3. No doubt, but in case of global axis, it has formed the x x, y y, and z z representation. But in case of local axis, it represents the axis by the numbering 1 1, 2 2, 3 3. Remember this point. It's very important to understand what the topics I am going to discuss with you guys. So this 1 1, this 2 2, this 3 3. While dealing with the beams in our graduation we have seen that there's three equilibrium equation. What are those? That are summation f of x, all the forces in x direction that are 0. Okay, so what is the x direction? This is the axial force direction. This is actually the direction. Got it? If you are going to see the section of this beam, this is the beam. So this is actually the depth. Okay, summation f of x, then summation of f of y, all the forces in y direction that are 0. So what are the forces? The vertical forces that coming on the structure, the vertical force. And in respect of this vertical force, suppose this is the support condition and this is the force applied over this beam. So due to this vertical force, shear forces will be generated at the throughout the length of the beam, this along the depth of the member. See, once the shear force acting on the member of the beam, the shear cracks will be developed like this. Under the loading and under the support condition, what happen? The cracks will be generated in this format. So what I am trying to show you that the shear forces are generating along the depth of the beam, so that when you have to see the shear force in the member of the beam, you need to go with the axis 2 2. In which axis we have to see the shear force? The axis 2 2. No doubt in axis 3 3 there will be shear, but that will be the minor shear, and the actual shear will be along 2 2. That is called as major shear. So one thing you have to remember here, that the major axis for the shear, major axis for shear is 2 2, and similarly minor axis for shear is 3 3. Got it? So whenever we need to see the shear forces in the member of beam, we need to look at the axis 2 2, and if you want to see the minor shear, you need to go with the axis 3 3. So actually we don't need to go with the axis 3 3. If you want to see the shear force, we will definitely go with the axis 2 2, because this is the major axis for the shear. Similarly, as we have three equation, summation f of x, that for the axial force in the members, summation f of y, if you are talking about the especially beam, so this is for the shear, and the third axis, movement about the z. See, this is actually the third, movement about the z. So in 3D view of the beam, as you can see here, this is the beam, this is the axis 1 1, this is the axis 2 2, axis 2 2, and the third axis, movement about z, that is actually out of plane, and that is represented by the etaps as 3 3. See, movement about the axis 3 3, and we are calculating the movement about the axis 3 3. That's why the major axis for the movement, see, major axis for movement is 3 3, and minor axis for the movement is actually 2 2. So two things you have to remember: major axis for the shear will be 2 2, and major axis for the movement 3 3. Again I am trying to show you major axis for shear and major axis for movement. It is actually, so major axis for the shear is 2 2 and major axis for the movement is actually 3 3. So remember this point. I hope you all understood the axis consideration. Are you understand the axis consideration, everybody? Okay, so it is important to note, is a very important topic that I have discussed right now, the axis consideration. So whenever you want to see the axial forces, so that ETABS will by default give you the axial force option. It is not showing that. Go to display. Let's analyze the model. When you go to display, then force and stress diagram, then frame results. As you can see here, it is not represented by 1 1. It's just showing that axial force option. So it is actually the longitudinal axis, okay, of the member. So axial force, but for the shear it is represented by the 2 2 and 3 3. So for shear, as I earlier explained that this is the for the major shear. So whenever you want to see the shear force, you have to go with the shear 2 2, and whenever you want to see the movement in the beam, you have to go with the movement 3 3. Got it? So these are the major axes for the movement and shear. Got it? So this is all about the axis consideration. Just close it. And right now we have to model this beam. So we have to model this beam. This is actually the cantilever beam. Okay. So how to model this beam, how to assign the loads, how to assign the joints, means support condition at the joint, and then how to see the shear forces, how to verify the results. All things we will try to understand in detail. Go to ETABS, go to File, New Model. Say no. Go with the third option. Say OK. Now see, as you can see here, there are 3 ways. Either you can directly model this beam as a single element, or you can draw the grids at these points. So I will show you both the methods. Okay. So first, this is the elevation view. Okay. If you see in plan, you can find 4 axes. You can find the 4 grids in x direction. This first, this second, this third, and this fourth. So the 4 grids in x direction, and in y direction there will be no any grid. There will be only one grid of the beam itself. Okay. So go to ETABS, 4 grids in x direction. Got it? Number of grids y direction, say 1, and spacing of grid in x direction. So it is non-uniform spacing. So put any value, suppose 0.5 meter, say 0.5. In y, say 1. Once it done, go to custom grid spacing option. Once you click on it, go to edit grid data option. Go with the display grid data as spacing option. Okay. So first is 0.5, and the second is 0.7, and third is 0.8. 0.7, then 0.8. That's all in x direction. Now in y direction, keep as it is. So as you can see here in this window, the bubbles are very close. So I'm choosing very low value, say 300. So again this is overlapping to each other, say 150. So it's done. The color will be choose some dark value, say okay. Once it's done, say okay. Then we need to look over the height of the structure. So as you can find, we don't need to have any level, but at least we have to give one value here, because ETABS doesn't allow 0. So put 1. Typical story height, say 1. A bottom story height, say 1. Okay, go with the grid option, say okay. Two window will be open, a plan window or plan view and 3D view. So we don't need to look at the 3D view. So close it, and we have to work in elevation. Go to elevation along grid 1, say 1, say apply. Once you click on it, so two level will be there, base and first. So it's upon you where you want to model the beam. So I'm just going to model the beam at story first, because it's a line element. That's why we have to choose only one level. So where whatever you want you can do, but what actually the problem is that if I am going to model the beam at the base level, it will give you again and again the supports, because I earlier told you that and on base if you click anywhere with any object, ETABS is by default give you the support condition. So just avoid this and try to model your beam on the story first. Okay, so what I have to do, go to the beam or frame element here, just click on it. Once you click on it, okay, we have to start from this point, just close it. Okay, from just click on it and freely move to the next point, click on this point, then freely move to the next point, click on that point, then freely move to the next point and click on that point. Once you done it, right click so that the command will be deactivated temporarily. Okay, now we have to assign the supports. As you can see that at the left joint there is a fixed support. So what we have to do, we have to deactivate the command. Just go to select object option. Once you click on it, so you can see that the command is deactivated. Now drag from left to right and select the joint. As you can see, one joint is selected, so that there is no any issue. Now go to assign joint restraints. As we want the fixed support here, so click fixed, apply, so that the fixed support is assigned to the member or assigned to the joint. Once you done it, just go to joint where you want to assign the loads. As you can see here at B joint, you have to assign 3 kilonewton, sorry 300 newton. In kilonewton it will become 0.3 kilonewton. We actually have to assign the load in kilonewton. So this is actually 300 newton. In kilonewton it will become 0.3 kilonewton. Likewise it will become 0.5 kilonewton, it will become 0.8 kilonewton. So put all these values, all these loads in ETABS. At this joint, one joint is selected. Go to assign joint loads force in vertical in live vertical direction minus what, minus 0.3 kilonewton. Minus 0.3 kilonewton. Apply. As you can see, 3 kilonewton in vertical downward direction is applied to the joint. Again, one joint is selected. Go to assign 0.5 kilonewton, apply, select the joint, 0.8 kilonewton, apply. So all the loads have been assigned to the joint. Once you've done it, then check the model. All the loads, all the supports, all the frames has been joined. Okay. So go to assign, go to analyze and check model. Check all the options and say OK. Once click on OK, it gives the result that model has been checked, no warning messages were generated. It means that your result is correct, your model is correct. Got it? We can proceed for the next step. Now go to analyze the model, go to analyze and run analysis. Once you click on run analysis, it will ask you save the model, say B1. Save. Okay, so we should know that the deflected shape of the beam, cantilever beam, is like this. This is a deflected shape of beam. And shear force diagram, or we can say the bending moment diagram of the beam, cantilever beam, are like this. So we should have the basic knowledge of the structure or component parts of the structure, how the shear force diagram will looks, how the bending moment diagram will looks, as we have studied in our bachelor's. So this is the deformed shape of the structure. If you go with the start animation option, it gives you deformed shape, animated deformed shape of the structural element. Stop it. Okay, now we have to see the shear force diagram and bending moment diagram, and as we discussed just now, how to where we have to see the shear force diagram. So along the axis 2, just go to display forces and stress diagram, then frame. Once you click on it, go with the live category and shear force 2. Okay, shear force 2, say apply. Once you click on it, it will give you the shear force diagram of the cantilever beam, of the modeled cantilever beam. So we have to verify the result with the ETABS, manual result with the ETAB result. As you can see, at the joint there's 1600 Newton. In kilonewton it will become 1.6 kilonewton at the support. So as you can see here, see at the joint it shows that minus 1.6. Okay, that means it's okay, minus 1.6 in kilonewton, and the result shows in Newton 1600. So this is done, this is okay. And you can see the elaborated result. Back click, right click on the beam. Once you click right click on the beam, see right click on this beam, so it will give you the more elaborated result. So minus 1.6, this is the shear force, and the fixed end moment is 2.35 kilonewton meter. This is the negative hogging bending moment, minus 2.35 kilonewton. You can see result here. In Newton meter it is 2350, and it gives the result is 2.35. If you see in Newton meter it will become 2350. So result is okay. Now now at this end the moment is 1 point. You can move anywhere. Okay, by clicking on this point, you can move anywhere, or you can find the corresponding moment and shear force. Okay, so if you come at the ends, right end, you can find the moment as 1.550. So in thrust, this is what moment is 1.550 kilonewton meter. Here it shows in Newton meter. So it is also okay. Now close it. Right clicking on the second part of the beam. When you right click on it, it shows that left side is 1.550. It's okay. On right side, it shows the moment as 640.64 kilonewton meter. Okay, and in taps in this 640 Newton meter. So this is only the change of the unit or precision. That's why this is only the difference, because but the values are same, 640. Got it? So this actually showing in the part, because we have modeled in different parts, in 3 parts. You can also model it entirely as a single beam. How we can do this? Just unlock the model. Once you unlock the model, delete all the things. How to delete all the things? Just select all. Here is the option all. Once you click on it, all the things drawn in the model will be selected. If you want to deselect all the selection, just click on clear. Once you click on clear, all the things will be cleared. Then if you click on all the things will be selected. Just delete it. Go to edit. You can find the option delete. Once you click on delete, all the things will be deleted. Got it? Then what we have to do now, actually we have to model the entire beam completely. So go to beam, close it. From first point, freely move to the last point. Okay, just right click on it so that the beam will be modeled. Go to assign the support at the joint. Select the joint. Go to assign joint restraint. It should be fixed. Apply. As you can see here, joint has been assigned to the support. It has been assigned to the joint. Now we have to assign the load at the joints. As you can find, once you model the entire beam at a one time, then we will unable to find the joint. When I am trying to click on this point, entire beam will be selected. This is actually the problem to assign the joint load. So how we can assign the joint load? So by using the previous option, we can't assign the joint load here, because I am actually unable to find the joint. Unless and until you select the joint, you can't apply the load. See, I am trying to select this joint. Just when I am clicking on it, all the beams will be selected. So how we can assign the load to the joint? So there is another option to assign the point loads over the frame. How we can do this? You will see. First select the frame where you want to assign the load. Once you select this beam, go to assign. Now at this time we don't go with the option joint loads. We have to go with the second option, frame loads. Okay, frame loads. And in frame load we have to assign the point load. On a frame we have to assign the point load. So go to frame and then point load option. Once you click on it, go with the second category, live load pattern. There are two options. Actually we have to assign the force, so left it as force selected. If you need to assign the movement, you can also assign the movement at a particular point. Okay, it is already given that gravity, so we don't need to put the negative sign. Okay, so gravity, and this option you know all about this option. Now second, what does there is a two option: relative distance from end I and absolute distance from end I. End means what? Is suppose this is a beam, is I and this is J. Two ends, end I and this is end J. But so from left point we will calculate. The first option is relative distance from end I. So it has it will do? It divides the frame in percentage of distances. This is a 1/4, this is 1/2 portion, this is 3/4, this is the complete one. So like this you can assign the load, but it is little bit complicated. We will go with the second option, absolute distance from end I. But this is the best way to assign the load. Just write the distance where you want to assign the load and how much the load you want to assign. That these two things you have to put here only. So this is the best way in comparison of first option, relative distance from end I. Okay, so what we have to do, here you have to assign the load at a distance of what? At a distance of 0.5 meter, we have to assign 0.3 kilonewton. At a distance of 0.5 meter from I joint, or we can say from A, 0.3 kilonewton. At a distance of 0.5 meter, what? 0.3 kilonewton. Say apply. Once you click on it, you can find 0.3 kilonewton is assigned to the joint or assigned to the frame in vertical direction. Then you have to put the load at a distance of 0.7 meter, 0.5 kilonewton. But you have to first select the frame. First thing you have to remember that this is the load already applied to the frame. If I am going with the replace existing load option, so this load will be assigned and the earlier load will be removed. This is actually the problem you can face. Okay, suppose I am going to assign. So it gives you the intimation that no object were selected where you want to assign the load. So first you need to select the frame. Once you select the frame, then go to assign the load. See here, once you click on apply, being selected with replace existing load. So this load will be replaced by the new load. See, this is actually the problem. But we want to add the existing load. Add to existing load. So what we have to do, at a distance of 0.5 meter, say at a distance of 0.5 meter, we have to apply 0.3 kilonewton. Being selected with the replace existing load option, select the frame first, apply. So as you can see, 0.3 kilonewton is applied at the joint. Okay, now at a distance of 0.7 from B, but if you see from A joint, it will become what? 0.7 plus 0.5, it will become 1.2 meter. So what you have to do, at a distance of 1.2 meter, you have to put the value 0.5 kilonewton. Got it? Say apply. But remember that we have to select add to existing load option. So this load will be remain here and additional load will be added here. New load will be added here. Say apply. But again I am not selecting the frame. Just select the frame, then go to do the operation. Apply. See, this load is assigned here. Now next what we have to do, I have to assign the load here. Okay. So you can go with the both, you can go with any option because you are able to select the joint here. You can directly go to, see, you can directly go to assign joint load force, how much in vertical direction, minus 0.8 kilonewton. Say apply. Sorry, go to display, assign joint load in live category. No load is there. Go to display, frame load, live load category से apply. So as you can find, both the loads are present here, and I just want to assign the load at this joint. So how we can first select the frame, go to assign frame load, then we have to assign the point load, then select the point, and at the farthest end, that is at a distance of what? At a distance of 2 meter, 0.5, 0.7 and 0.8 from the joint A, it will become 2 meter at a distance of D, and we have to put the 0.8 kilonewton. So at a distance of 2, we have to put 0.8 kilonewton. But remember that select the option add to existing load, say apply. Once you click on it, all the loads has been assigned to the beams. Okay. Now what we have to do, we have to analyze the model. But before that, we have to check the model whether there is any error or not. Check the model, select all, say OK. Once you click on OK, it gives the result that model has been checked, no warning messages were generated. So it's OK. Go to analyze and run analysis. Once you click on it, it will give you the result. This is a deformed shape. Now I just want to see the shear force and bending moment diagram. So go to display, go to the frame results. Okay. I just want to see the shear force diagram. So I have to we need to go with the major axis 2 for the shear, and major axis for the movement is 3 remember. For 2 apply. So as you can see here, now at this time we have modeled this complete beam so that we can find the result at a time. Just right click on it. Once you right click on it, it will give you more elaborated result. As you can see here, you can move the cursor from this point to left end. As you can find, the load shear force is 1600 Newton, or in kilonewton it is 1.6. So this is OK. You can locate the position by putting the value here. As I want the values at a distance of 0.5 meter, enter. Then you can find again the shear force is 1.6 kilonewton and 1.550 kilonewton meter, but result is shown in Newton meter, that is 1.550 Newton meter. So it's OK, no issue. But if you want to see at a distance of 1.2 meter, say 1.2, enter, so that it show you that is 1300 kilonewton, 1300 Newton, or in kilonewton that is 1.3 kilonewton shear force. So as you can see here, this 1600 and if you go to minus the 300 from 1600, it will become 1300. So this is actually this is actually 1300. So in tabs is give you result 1.3 kilonewton, and at the end the value is 800 kilonewton, or sorry 800 Newton, and in kilonewton it become 0.8 kilonewton. As you can find here, at the end it is 800 Newton. Got it? So this is all about the shear force. Now if you want to see the bending moment, so at the end the bending moment is 2.350 kilonewton meter. Bending moment from net point is 2.350 kilonewton meter at a distance of 0.5. Enter. you will be able to find the value as bending moment 1.55, as you can see here, 1.55 kilonewton meter. Then at a distance of 1.2, put then 640 sorry 0.64 kilonewton meter, or in Newton meter it will become 640, as you can see in the file, 640. So this is all about the checking how to model the beam, how to assign the loads by different ways, then how to see the shear forces in the beams, and how to see the bending moment. That's all about this practice, or all about this exercise. Then we have to model next this type of beam. So you all understood up to this level? Hello, am I audible to all of you? Am I audible to all of you? Have you understand all the concepts? Is there any doubt? It is easy to understand, or you are facing any difficulty? Hello? Is there any doubt? Okay. Is it easy to understand? Vasant Kumar. So, can we continue? Hello? Shall we continue? Okay. Omkar Nikam. Continue. Okay. So now we have to model this beam and we have to verify the results. So, okay. Now just go back to ETABS, then it close all the things, go to file, new model, say no, go with the third option, say okay. Once you click on it, actually we have to again model the cantilever beam. Okay, so we actually want two grids in plan. Okay, see, this is the grid first, this second, and this third. Okay, the distance from these two grid is 1.5 and this two grid is 0.5. In x, in y direction there will be no grid, so we will put as 1. In x direction there is 3 grids, in y direction there is only 1 grid, and spacing of the grid in x direction, put any value, because we have to go with the custom grid spacing option. Spacing in y direction, put 1. Custom grid spacing, edit grid. Okay, distance between 1 and 2, that is 1.5, and distance between C to B is 0.5. C to B is 0.5. Okay, so it is done in x direction. Y direction we don't need to do anything. Use some dark value. So okay, put 200. So all the bubbles will be separated clearly. So okay, we want the, okay, we have to put the story data. So put 1 1. We don't want actually any story. 1 1. Grids only. So okay. Once you click on it, two window will open, 3D and plan view. Just close 3D window. we have to walk over the elevation. So go to elevation along grid first, say apply. Got it? Then at this time we are directly modeling the beam as a single element or single member. So go to beam, close it, click on this point and freely move to the next point where you want to end the beam. Close it and select the joint. Okay, so like this you will be able to model the beam. Now we have to assign the joint at the left end as fixed joint. As you can see, one joint is selected. Go to assign joint, restraint and fixed. Say apply. Okay. So like this you will be able to assign the fixed support at the left joint. Once you done it, now at this time what we have to do, we have to assign the uniformly distributed load on the beam. This is what? This is actually the uniformly distributed load of intensity 1.5 kilonewton per meter. What? 1.5 kilonewton per meter. So what we have to do? Clear it. Go to beam. Okay. Select the beam or select the member where you want to assign the uniformly distributed, on which you want to assign the uniformly distributed load. Once you select that frame, go to assign and the frame loads. Okay, these are actually the frame elements, so go to frame loads. Now at this time we don't need to apply the point load. We have to assign the distributed load, uniformly distributed load. Just click on it. Okay, so there will be again, it will ask you the load pattern. So say live load pattern. Okay, which you want, what you want to assign, either force or movement. So we have to go with the force. Then gravity direction is also given, so we don't need to put the value with the negative sign. If it is not given the gravity, at that time we have to put the negative sign with the value. But here is already understand that we have to apply the loads in vertical downward direction. Okay, now these are trapezoidal loading. So we will see later on this option, but right now we are discussing with the uniform load. So over the total span of the beam, we have to apply the live load of intensity 1.5 kilonewton per meter. This is a running meter length. We have to apply the load over the running meter length. That is what? 1.5 kilonewton. Say apply. Once you click on it, you can see in the window the live load, uniformly distributed load has been assigned to the frame. Once you done it, then the next thing that we have to do, we have to assign the point load at a distance of 1.5 meter from the end or from the left end. 2 kilonewton at a distance of 1.5 meter. So as similar to the previous practice, just select the frame, go to assign, go to frame load. Now at this time we have to assign the point load. Go to point. Okay, go to point and go with the absolute distance from end I, and we have to assign the load under the live load pattern category. And then remember that add to existing load option. Make sure that the first option is selected, add to existing load option. Now at a distance of 1.5 meter, I have to put 2 kilonewton. What? I have at a distance of 1.5 meter from the left end. From the left end at a distance of 1.5 meter, I have to put vertical downward 2 kilonewton. Got it? So this value I need to put here. So at a distance of 1.5 meter, 2 kilonewton vertically downward, say apply, being selected with the option of add to existing loads. say apply. So as you can see here, 2 kilonewton has been assigned to this joint. Okay, so all the loadings and all the things have done. So now we have to check the model whether there is any error or not. Check the model, select all, say OK. Once you click on OK, it will give you the result. Model has been checked, no warning messages were generated. Now run the analysis. Go to analyze and run analysis. It will ask you to show the model, set T, whatever you want the name you can give, save. It takes some time and give the result of a deformed shape or deflected shape of the structure. You can see the animation of that deformed shape. See, this is the animation. So stop this animation. There is a use of this animation. You will see in the high-rise structure how to see the animated shape and what the use of the animated shape of the structure. Okay. So right now it is not is in use. Okay. Go to display, force and stress diagram, frame and pier spindles. Once you click on it, okay, so we have to see the shear force under the live load category, shear force, say apply. Once you click on it, it has give you the result of the shear force diagram, and as you can find the result here. So this shows that 5 kilonewton shear force at the fixed support. If you want to see at this joint, it shows that -5, so it's okay. Shows that above to the baseline is the minus sign, that's why it's showing you above to the baseline. So it is a 5 kilonewton, so it's okay. The result is okay. At this joint, this is what 2.7 something. If you want to more clear result or more elaborated result, you just right click on the beam. Once you right click on beam, it will give you more elaborated result. At this joint, you can find the shear force at the left end is 5 kilonewton, so it's fine and matching with the manual result 5 kilonewton. And if you want to see at a particular distance from the left end, that is 1.5 meter, so you can directly scroll the position, scroll the bar to get the position, or you can directly put the value or put the distance. Yes, I just want to see at a distance of 1.5 meter from the left end, enter. So the shear force is 2.75 kilonewton. So this is what, as this joint, the shear force is 2.75. See, 2 plus 0.75, the total distance will become 2.75 kilonewton. So as you can see here, this 2.75 kilonewton, and at the same joint the moment is 0.1875 kilonewton meter. As you can see here, at the same joint 0.1875 kilonewton meter. At the left end the moment is 6 kilonewton meter. See, 6 kilonewton meter, and at the free end the moment and shear force will be 0, 0, 0. Got it? So like this we have to check the bending moment and shear force diagram. Got it? If you want to see the bending moment diagram here, so go to display, shear force, force and stress diagram. Then you have to check the moment along the axis 3, 3. This is a major moment axis along 3, 3. Say apply. So this will give you bending moment diagram. Got it? So this is all about to see the bending moment and shear force in the beam. I hope you all understood. Is there any issue? You all understand the topic? Understood the topics? Is, is there any doubt? Omkar? All clear? So, now we have to model this type of beam. So till now you have learned how to assign the joint load, how to assign the frame load, that means UDL. Now in this practice you will learn how to assign the trapezoidal loading, or we can say non-uniform load. Got it? So we have to model this beam. How to do this? We have to model this beam. How we can model this beam? Number of grids in x direction. See, this is the first grid, the second grid, and this will be the, we can say this is the third grid. Let it to be third grid, and let it be the fourth grid. So we have to model 4 grids in x direction. Okay, so go to tabs, go to file, new model, say no, go with the third option. In x direction we have to model 4 grids, say 4. In y direction it will be 1. Spacing in x direction, see, spacing in x direction, the distance between A to B is 10 meter, distance between B to C is actually 16 meter, and distance between C to D is actually 4 meter. So it's a non-uniform. So put any value, let it to be 8, 8. Don't worry, don't need to take any value, just put 1 in y direction. Then custom grid spacing, edit story data. Okay. Go with the second option, display grid as spacing. Okay, put the first, that is what, 10 meter, put 10, enter. Distance between B to C is 16 meter, put 16. Then C to D is actually 4 meter, so put 4, and the last will be 0. So I will choose some dark value, dark color, say okay, and I'm choosing that 1000, so okay. Once you done it, we don't want many story, just put 1, 1, say okay with the grids only option. Once you click on it, a 3D view and plan view will be shown here. Just close the 3D view. Okay. Go with the elevation along grid first. Apply. Now we have to model the beam at story first. So what we have to do, just go with the beam option, close it, and click on the joint, left end joint. As you can see here, there is 2 beam. See, this is the one cantilever beam. This is what? This is the one cantilever beam. Okay, and this is the one complete beam. So we will do like this. We are going to model this beam as this is a cantilever beam. So we will start to model from this point to this point. This will be the first beam, and then from this point to the next point, this will be the second beam. Okay. So how to do this? Go to tabs, close it. Just click on left point and freely move to the next point. Okay, the first beam, and then go to the last point, click here. So as you can find, both the beam has been modeled. Now we have to assign the support at a joint. So select the joint, drag from left to right, select the joint. As you can see here, one joint is selected. Go to assign, joint, restrain and fixed, say apply. So as you can see, fixed support has been assigned to this joint. Now at the right side we have to at the left end there is a roller support. So at the again select, okay, one joint is selected, then change it to roller support. Click roller, say apply. So as you can see, it is changed from fixed to roller one. Then at right side we have to assign what hinge support is there. This is the hinge support. Select the joint and assign hinge support, say apply. As you can see, hinge support has been assigned to this joint. Once you done it, now it's time to apply the loading on the frame, loading on the beam. Okay, how to do this? First see what loading we have to assign. See, from A to B we have to assign uniformly varying load. At A we want 0 and at B we want 2 kilonewton. How to do this? Just go to tabs, select the frame on which you have to assign the loading. Go to assign, go to frame load, okay, then go to distributed. Now at this time, first select the load life, gravity and keep all the things as it is. But at this time we don't have to assign the uniform load, so don't concentrate on this option. Now we have to concentrate on trapezoidal load option. Again there is a two option, a relative distance from end eye and absolute distance from end eye. So we will go with the second option, absolute distance from end eye. Okay, at a distance 0 we want the value as 0. See here, for this frame at a distance 0, this is the start point I, this is the J. So at a distance 0 the value is 0. At a distance 10 meter the value is 2, remember. So at a distance 0 the value is 0. At a distance 10 the value is what? 2. Say apply. Say apply. As you can see here, the uniformly varying load is assigned to the frame. Okay, so like this you will be able to assign uniformly varying load. Now for this frame, then select the frame. What we have to do? We have to assign the uniformly distributed load. This is what? Uniformly varying load, and this is what? Uniformly distributed load. So we want at B 2 kilonewton, and at a distance of 16 meter we again want 2 kilonewton. Okay, we can't go with this option. See in tabs we can't go. If you go to assign, if you are going with this, say if you are thinking that is the UDL, so you can apply with this option. So if you go with this option, it will assign the load to the entire beam. Say make it 0 0 first. Okay, so like previous practice, if you are going to assign the load, say 2 kilonewton and say apply. So as you can see, throughout the beam it will assign the UDL. But what actually we want the UDL only at a distance of 16 meter from the B point. There is no any load at this point. There is no any load. So how to assign this load? So we have to go with the first option. So just undo the previous operation. Okay, now select the frame and just make it 0 and go with this trapezoidal load option. So what we want at a distance 0 for this frame, we want 2 kilonewton. Is that okay? How much is there? Yes, 2 kilonewton. And at a distance of 16 meter, we want again 2 kilonewton. So this is actually the way. Apply. Once you click on apply, this see the load has been assigned to the frame. Got it? So all load has been assigned to the frame. There is no any other load we need to apply on the beam. Got it? Just come back and check whether, close it, check whether the model is correct or not. Select all. Okay, as you can see, model has been checked, no warning is there. Now go to analyze the model, analyze and check model. Sorry, go to analyze and run analysis. It will again ask you to save the model. Set T4. This will give you the deformed shape of the structure or model. This is the animated shape of the model. Just stop it and go to display course. If you want to see the bending moment diagram, so bending moment diagram along 3 major axis for the moment is 3 say apply. Once you click on it, you will be able to see the bending moment diagram of the beam. Once you click, right click, okay, either you can, if you want to see this diagram with the more scale, what you have to do, go to display, frame result and choose the scale. Here is the scale. I am increasing the size to 10 times. 8. Enter, apply. See, if you want to see the result in large scale, you can, how you can change the scale, go to display, course, frame, and you can again increase the scale by 10%. So make it as 10%, say apply. See, this is the result. If you want to reduce by 10%, 0.8, say apply. So this is the way to see the result more clear way, in more clear way. As you can find, if you want to see more elaborated result, just right click on the frame. Once you right click on the frame, it will give you the more elaborated result. Okay, the shear force at the left end is 0 because it's a free end. As you can see here, at the left end the shear force is 0, and at the B junction the shear force is what? 20.87. This 20, see, this is actually this 20.87 for the positive. We have to see only this part. See, we have to see only this part, and the value is actually not given here. Okay, so this will be obviously 10 point something that is given by the ETAB result. That is what? 10 kilonewton. But you can verify with the moment. Moment is 33 kilonewton meter. So as you can see in the result, moment is what? 33 kilonewton. Got it? At this point. Okay. In between, at a distance of what? At a distance of there is the bending moment is 44.52 kilonewton at a distance of 16 meter from the B point. If you go to see for this frame, right click on it and you actually want the particular what is 16 meter, just enter. So as you can see here, the shear force is 11.133. so again here not given the value, but the moment is given here is 44.2 kilonewton meter. So you can verify with the moment. So as you can see 44.53 and here is the 44.52. so exactly it is very close to 44.52 and 44.53. so it is almost same. So like this you can see the bending moment and shear force for the beam. I hope you all understood this way to assign, how to assign the uniformly varying load. Got it? Are you understand? So there are another two problem is also there. Will you try on your own? Will you try these two problems to solve on your own? If you face any difficulty or any problem, then ask. We will try to see what is the problem, how to resolve that problem. Okay. So this is all about the beams, how to assign the different kinds of loads, and then how to see the shear force diagram, bending moment diagram, what the axis consideration, that all things we have completed here. If you have any doubt, then freely you can ask the question. If you have any doubt, we have 5 to 10 minutes for doubt clarification.